Hi, today I'm going to be doing an arc fold on a dress here. Arc as in a big circle. And the way that I like to make my arcs is to take a string, tie it onto my pen, and make a mark on where I want to start the arc, or have the center of the arc be. And then I'll usually draw a couple of them. I'll draw one kind of at the outer edge of the dress out here. So, and of course it doesn't go all the way, but you want to make sure that you hold down tight here with your thumb and then stretch that string all the way out and draw your first arc on. And it should be, or I like to make mine at the outer edge of the dress here. And then you can bring that in just a bit and draw a smaller arc, just to help you when you're doing your folding, keep things lined up. And this one then is going to start on the sleeve of the dress here. I think it's just out of the camera view, but I'm on the sleeve. This one you got to be careful as you're moving it, that if you pick up any of these little folds, it's going to move the dress. So you want to make sure your string is free to slide all the way. And once you have that arc drawn on there, then we're going to do an accordion fold. And let me adjust my camera angle. I kind of tipped it so that you could see me draw the whole thing on, but now I'll adjust it so you can get a close-up of what I'm folding. Okay, now we're straightened out here. So the first thing, wherever you have your center at, you want to make sure that you have that marked. Since I had two markers on here, I went ahead and circled the one that I'm going to go by, because this is going to help us straighten things out later on. To start with though, I got two lines here that I'm going to fold with, and you don't have to fold them in sync, but if you go back and forth between the two just to kind of help keep your line straight, and since we're doing a bunch of folds here, I'm going to make the outer one just a little bit taller, and it's going to help then with the arc that we're folding in. So what I'm doing is just going along an accordion folding, and I'm trying to keep my folds about the same height here as I go along. And like I say, you can go ahead and fold this one, come back and fold that one, and just kind of help straighten these out a little bit. We're not going to worry too much about this part of the folds just yet, but when we're done, then we're going to pull on that edge to get those folds lined up a little bit more. And you can be more precise. You can stretch this out, and you can use your little protractor here, and you can draw out a bunch of angles, and then you can go in and actually fold that and back and forth. But that takes a lot of time, and I find this way is quicker, and it's not quite as precise, but it still makes a decent looking pattern here. So we're just going to fold all the way along here. And I like to just keep moving the dress around so the folds that the lines that I'm working at are coming straight towards me. And it just helps lining things up. Like I say, there's various methods you can do, whether you grab a piece and you fold it in here, or you reach out with your fingers and pinch in the fold. So just whatever works for you. I tend to kind of flip back and forth on how I'm accordioning it. And the dress is been soaked in soda ash and then spun out in the washer, so it's just slightly damp. You can do it dry, especially if you're going to do ice dyeing. You might want to fold it dry, or at least let it dry out before you do your ice dyeing. But I find that having the dress slightly damp does help with the folding, because as I get these creases, I don't have to constantly hold on to all of these, and when it's dry it tends to want to separate. So that's the main reason that I like folding mine slightly damp. Okay, we're getting down to the end here. And like I say, I try to keep them nice and even, but I can see a few of these are not quite lined up perfectly, but that's not going to matter too much. Alright, so that fold is done. So now I got just this last one here to line up. Okay, now we're down to the point. This here is where the center was, and I'm going to use that to kind of pull on it. And if you hold your folds in place here, so you want to hold where you folded and then grab that center spot, you can kind of wiggle some of those folds into place, and then it's just a matter of kind of working them out. Like I say, if you want to be more precise, you can mark out your lines at 15-degree intervals and slowly fold them up, but this here gets the job done not quite as precisely, but efficiently, I would say. So, and then you can just work some of these folds all the way down. And then once I have kind of how I want it lined up, then I'm going to tie that off. So we'll flip this around. And then I like to use kite string. You can use, well actually I guess I'm using embroidery string right now. But kite string, any type of lightweight string is going to work, or you can use rubber bands. But a kite string, or any type of string like this, that works fast. So usually what I'll do is wrap around a couple times right where my outer loop is, and then I kind of go at an angle because I'm going to come back up. So go down and kind of pull that just a little bit tight, and once you get down here, then you can start straightening out more of these folds. Try to even those out a little bit. Guess I need to stay in the camera view here. Okay. So I'm just zigzagging back and forth across here. Tying that up, and then I'm going to go the other direction, back up. Okay, so I'll zoom in just a little bit, see if you can see my string here. So in doing this, I just, like I say, it makes X's, so I go down one way and I come back up the other direction, and it just crisscrosses and ties that up nice and neat there. And then the rest of the dress, I'm going to fold it out and do the same thing. So I'm going to work at getting these creases here, and I'm just going to carry them on into the rest of the dress here. So I'm just kind of manipulating the dress a little bit and just trying to line up some of these folds here. And then I like to take the end. You can go ahead and tie this off all the way up to the very end, but I like to mix it up a little bit, and I'll do a fold over. And what that does then is I put my colors on, is it's going to give me just a little bit different color down here on this bottom corner here. So it just adds a little extra detail in there for my mind of how I like to do these folds. But there's lots of different ways of doing that, and you can experiment and try and figure out how you like to do it best. So now I'm going to do the same thing, just use the kite string to wrap up and tie this off. Last bit. Alright, now we're down to the end here, and this is about ready for some dye. So, like I say, there's lots of ways of dyeing this. If you like to do ice dyeing and you folded it dry, then you're ready to go. If you folded it slightly damp, I would say let this sit out for a couple days just to finish drying out. But since I'm going to put liquid dye on, this is ready to go, and then I'm just going to put dye on just in rows here. If you want to mark it off, you can do that. And what I would do for marking off where I'm putting my colors at is just use my fingers as a mark, and then you just dye in your lines there. You can dye the same colors on both sides and you get a nice even line. If you dye a different color, say if you were going in your rainbow colors, red, yellow, orange, then on the other side you started with orange and moved to yellow and then red, that's going to alternate and give you kind of a DNA effect, and that's fun too. And that might be what I do with this one here. So we'll come back to dyeing here in just a minute. Well, it'll be in the next video. Thank you for watching. Please like and share my videos.